Good afternoon, everyone. This session today is around one of our greatest value for cloud business with IncomeX. That's the IncomeX Cloud Platform, affectionately known as ICP. This is primarily for CSP business, meaning SMB and enterprise business. This has nothing to do with ESD or open license. This is specifically cloud subscription. This is for the cloud solutions program and cloud subscriptions that we're dealing with. Much of our discussion will be around Microsoft Business, but you will see when I do my demo that the cloud platform or IncomeX Cloud Platform has much more than Microsoft Cloud solutions in there that you can provision for your customer and yourself for demo purposes or for POCs. So let's move forward into what IncomeX Cloud Platform is. And just, sorry. So we're just looking at the value proposition, a couple of aspects of it, and then we go straight into our demo. I may skip some of the slides because I want to get to the demo to actually show you the platform and how it works. And most persons on this call, either it's the first time you're going to be using ICP, you've used it, you're using it, and there are some things that you're going to see that maybe you have not activated within your account, or you need to activate it within your account to get the most out of the platform. And there have been some new additions to the platform for persons who haven't been curious. We'll take a look at a few of those things today. So essentially, the value proposition is around 4 pillars with ICP: systems, people, processes, and maintenance. So starting with the concept of system, there are 6 key components essentially. We're talking about support, reporting, billing, security, the ability to make this platform yours. So while it is an offering from IncomeX to you to manage your CSP business, you can white label or change the look of the platform to let it be a part of the assets that you have now to present to your internal users and your customers. So before I move on, and I'll show you in the demo phase, that the platform, it's a multi-tier system. So at the disty level, we can see all our partners, whichever region that you're associated with. At the partner level, you can see all your customers and the business that they're doing. The customers, if you give them access, can see all the services that have been provisioned for them. So talking about provision now, the 6th key aspect of the system is procurement and subscription management. Basically, the subscriptions that you want to provide to the customers, you provision those subscriptions to the customer. White labeling is pretty straightforward. It's just to have that customer loyalty, make it a part of the websites that you have available. Now, what this platform is essentially provisioning of CSP services to an existing or brand new Microsoft tenant. What it is not an e-commerce site. Can't use credit cards to make any purchases. You don't purchase and then the services get provisioned. It requires some intervention from the partner, or if you give access to the customer to actually provision the services. Why was it done that way? To ensure that you provision exactly what you want, and a swipe of a credit card does not complete the transaction for you. It also allows you to carefully manage what is provisioned, because the moment it's provisioned, a cost is generated. in the case of your Microsoft 365 subscriptions, Dynamics, etc. In terms of Azure, when you set up the subscription, you only generate costs once you've activated the services. Once those services are being used and activated, that is when you actually generate costs. But the system is tracking your cost and will bill you as the cost is generated month over month. Understood? So this is just looking at the white labeling aspect of it, the things you can change. So our URL that we have has the concept of marketplace. You can of course call it whatever you want. You can call it ABC Cloud subscription marketplace at ABC, whatever you want to call it. You assign your own domain or subdomain to it. Now, to be able to do the white labeling, you will have to send a ticket to our support team to get the assistance from that team to be able to do what you're doing. And these are just some examples of how you actually get that domain done and how you set up everything. Now, as I said, I'm not going into all the in-depth aspects of everything in my slide. I'll mention a few things in the slide, but I'll go to the demo and show you exactly how this platform works. I'll be working from the point of view of a reseller to show you how everything gets done and what you need to look for once you have an account with us. And these are just some of the steps that you have in terms of setting up this white labeling. So I won't spend much time around it, but we have a first level support for all subscriptions that are there. Of course, by extension, we have agreements with all our vendors to get vendor level support, which is either directly available to you through us or whatever additional support that the vendor offers you directly once you have joined their respective partner programs outside of that of Microsoft, okay? And this is some information that speaks to your ability to get the support and the various SLAs that are available through our support team. For the team here that's on this call, the email that you need to focus on, sorry, let me go back one slide, is support@supportlatam.cloud. And of course, the portal you can go to for help is help.supportlatam.cloud. Once your support request has been opened with the team, we should get a response via email to say that your support ticket has opened. If you do it via email, if you do it via the browser, once you go back into the tool, the help desk tool, it will show that the support team has responded and whatever they ask for in response, you would supply to complete that request to them. So for example, you need to have a Microsoft support ticket opened. You try to be as complete as you can. Obviously, you're opening a ticket maybe for either yourself or for an end customer. For an end customer, every end customer would have a tenant. Now, so remember, this is cloud business, and the concept of a Microsoft tenant. Services are provisioned, or subscriptions are provisioned to this tenant. So you need to have the end customer information, the tenant information or tenant ID. So tenant name and tenant ID. Also, the person who is going to be the point of contact for that support representative from Microsoft. Who is the Microsoft person going to reach out to? These are some key information that a support team will ask for. Of course, the nature of what it is that you require that ticket for Again, you're opening a support ticket to Microsoft. It's a part of their standard process anyway. You supply that information, and then a Microsoft representative will reach out to the contact, okay? Whether it's the end customer or you, the partner. So in terms of this platform, I don't want to use the word free, but it is offered to you to manage your CSP business without any cost to you. It is IncomeX's responsibility to maintain this environment, update all the subscriptions in there, support the environment, and ensure that if there are any issues, we are the ones who respond to that issue in terms of provision of services or any aspect of it. You don't have to worry about managing or maintaining the tool. All you focus on is doing the business, which is to provision the CSP business and give your client the solution that they need. There are a number of functions that have been added since its inception and since a lot of the persons who are on this call have started using ICP. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go straight into the demo. So I'm going to end this. I'll stop sharing in a bit and I will start sharing. So stop sharing now, and I'm going to share the page and I'm going to load. All right. Samantha, you see my screen?
Yes, sir, Tom.
Thank you very much. All right, so team, when you have registered with us and you get an IncomeX Cloud platform account, you'll have a URL saying marketplace someregion.incomexcloud.com. Right now I'm using this one from Jamaica, so it says JM. A lot of the partners here will either be either JM, XUS, or XRD. But of course, we have other locations as well. So those are the popular ones. So I'm using the Jamaica one for now. There's a username and there's a difference. So in some cases, your email address is also similar to your username, but in a lot of the cases, it's different, especially for the company administrator. So the person who has been identified as a company administrator, their username in most cases starts with admin at some domain, right? And then of course you're given an initial password, and once you log in with that initial password, you will then come to a page that asks you to accept the terms of you utilizing the tool. And I will ask all partners, if you have not read it, to go back and read it. So I'm going to log in now and show you where you can find it for those who have gone in and maybe just browsed over it. So where it's in the top right, where it says company administrator, you scroll down and it says view T and C. You click on that. And these are terms of the agreement. Basically, terms of to use general terms of usage of this platform and what you're bounded by as when you're working with us. And take time to read this information. I mean, it's a contract of some sorts. Even though the platform is free to you, please understand, you know, if you don't manage how you use it, or if you run into situations where you have outstanding balances, you need to communicate with the team. So you have a local team that you can reach out to, either at software.jm incomex.com, or a lot of the partners here would know Martha, who leads our licensing desk for the English Caribbean. All right, so a part of that licensing desk is Annika, who you've met as well via email, and who is going to be new to that team as well is Samantha, whose name I just mentioned a while ago. But please take the opportunity to read this. If you can't read it in this, export it and read it and understand what's the expected usage and your obligations in using this particular tool. Also, you can read our privacy policy as it relates to what is expected as well. Sorry about that, everyone. My internet is moving a little slow. So I've logged in as a company administrator for the partner Digi Air Limited. Okay, in this case, it's not a valid entity, but pretty much your interface will look much the same way as mine will look right now when you land on the home page. So to the top bar, these are all the menu options: home, marketplace, sales, tool, provisioning, reporting, and support. Now this is where a lot of changes have taken place, because for the support, we have created an entire support portal which helps you with marketing collateral and support information relating to how you use this particular platform. But on the home page, if it is that you need to get to support, you click no more. It will take you to that help desk that I mentioned before. You create a sign-in and you can start opening your tickets, or you can simply send to support@supportlatam.cloud. And let me just put that in the chat quickly, because I've been mentioning a number of things and it will be good for you to have this information going forward. So support@supportlatam.cloud. So that's the menu bar. If you look where it's in terms of the user, it can tell you who is signed in. If it's one of your administrators, any one of your sales reps, whomever it is that you give access to. You see a section that says notifications, changing your password, as I mentioned before, viewing the privacy policy and the terms, and of course to be able to sign out. And you can change the language that that this portal is displaying as well. Now, once you clear that menu bar, you will see the company hierarchy. At the top level will be you, the partner, or IncomeX reseller. Everything listed below you are your end customers. So essentially, you'll be tracking for every customer. You're tracking the business that you're doing with that customer. Once you create a customer record, you have to then tie that customer record to the Microsoft Cloud, and that link is done through this particular service called the Microsoft Organization Tenant. What it does, it either creates a new account in the Microsoft Cloud or creates a relationship between the Microsoft, an existing tenant in the cloud, and this platform. Once that relationship has been established, then you can provision services. Of course, there's one step before that, which is accepting the Microsoft customer agreement. There are essentially about 3 or so agreements that you have to consider as Microsoft partners. The Microsoft Partner Agreement, which that's a relationship between you and Microsoft when you join the Microsoft Partner Program under CSP. Then there's the Microsoft Cloud Agreement. So for specific services There's a cloud agreement that Microsoft has for the specific services or products or subscriptions. And then there's a Microsoft customer agreement. Microsoft customer agreement speaks to the obligations that the end customer has to honor the relationship with themselves and Microsoft. This particular portal is built for an indirect, not a direct, but indirect relationship, meaning you're not, but the end customer is not purchasing directly from Microsoft. The end customer purchases from the distribution channel. Mean you have that discussion with your end customer. They either suggest what they want, or if you have given them access, they can provision that access for themselves, right? And you will then have that communication with us, or you can provision it on behalf of the end customer. Or if it is that you have not learned or you're not comfortable with provisioning it yourself, we can provision it on your behalf for your end customer. So it's an indirect approach in terms of provisioning services rather than going to some direct Microsoft portal to purchase and buy those services and have those provisioned to whichever tenant that has been created for that end customer. So once that service is there, then the process is very, very simple. So I'm going to show you what that process looks like right now before even explaining what the marketplace is and looking at the support and reporting aspects of this platform. So I'm going to do a brand new customer. So what you do, you click on the, let me do this again. Maybe I went a little fast a while ago. Bottom left of the screen is a big plus new. You click on that and you go to create company. So you're at this point, you're going to create a company record. You select your company name as the reseller or Microsoft partner. You enter the company name. You enter the company's business domain, not their tenant domain, their business domain. You enter the address. Sorry. And for those countries that don't have a zip code, you enter 4 to 5 zeros. You enter the customer's email address. And if it's a managed service that you're doing, you can enter your email address for now so that the communication comes to you as a MSP. But you'd enter the customer's email address. I'm using my email address for now. Once you've completed all the fields with a blue asterisk, which are the compulsory fields, as you can see, there are many more fields that are there. You can enter additional information. But once you've completed all the compulsory stuff, you can move to the next screen. On the next screen now, you decide, okay, remember I said you can give rights to the end customer to provision their own services. To be able to give rights to do that, you have to assign security roles to the customer record. These roles are customer admin advanced, customer admin modify, customer admin read only. And by default, you can create a default administrator. If it is that you, out of the box, you don't want to give that end customer access to the portal, you need to take this off. So I'm going to take it off for now, and I can always create a user with administrative rights to do what I need to do. After you've put in the details of the company, added some security roles, you then assign a marketplace. The concept of a marketplace is simply this: a repository of cloud subscriptions with associated price schedules that you can provision for the customer. And we'll get into that in a minute. So now we've created a company, New Store Limited. And once we've created that, we now need to either create a Microsoft tenant in a Microsoft Cloud environment, or we need to associate with an existing one. What we're going to do is create a brand new one. So there are 3 ways that you can access the service that does that. You can either go to available services, you can go to plus new here and order service, or you can simply go new service. Now I'm going to take the one that I love, is more comfortable because I can see the marketplace while I'm doing it. So I'll type tenant. Just narrow down the particular service I want. So we want the Microsoft organization tenant. Hit the plus on that. Once we have selected that, we then move to fill out the necessary details. Remember I mentioned to you, there's the Microsoft Cloud Agreement. So you have the partner agreement, Microsoft Partner Agreement, Microsoft Cloud Agreement, which is tied to the subscription itself, and then the Microsoft Customer Agreement. Now, I'll pause here for a sec. So some persons who have their accounts, their Incomec Cloud Platform accounts, they may have been having some issues in provisioning services, and you may get an error to say that your MPA has not been signed. MPA stands for Microsoft Partner Agreement. To be able to access that, you'll have to go to partner.microsoft.com, go to your CSP on your dashboard, to your CSP portion of your partner dashboard, and you'll see a prompt. You should see a prompt at the very top. You give it a few seconds, you see a prompt at the top, which will either tell you that your partner agreement has been signed, or it will indicate that there's that the agreement is unsigned, or there's an issue with your partner account. And once you resolve that issue and make sure that you have signed up properly for CSP reseller business indirect, as a CSP indirect reseller, not a CSP direct, CSP indirect reseller, you can then get beyond that error. So next, 1 second, please. So as I told you about the particular service, Microsoft Organization Tenant, if it is that you have an existing tenant, you'll select this box here. If it's brand new, you are going to give some sort of name for that tenant. Right now it's just checking to see if this has been used. If it hasn't been used, it will allow me to continue. If it was something that has been used, let me show you what that looks like. So if it was a tenant that has been used, it should give me an error, or basically say, look, this is already used, domain already used. So let's go back to the one that has not been used. And then I start to enter some specific information relating to the customer. And because I've entered all the compulsory stuff, it will then take me to the next page. As you can see, this is a free service. It doesn't cost you to create a cloud tenant. It says it has been created, although it's going to take a few seconds to actually do it. And then once it has been created, then I can move to the next stage. So right now I'm just watching it. I'm just refreshing the screen. This little button right here is a little refresh button. So I go to the customer level, and just hit the refresh button. Once it's done, this hourglass will go away. There we go. So that is done. So what is given once that is done? What happens? It provides you with the tenant domain. It gives you the tenant ID, and it also gives you the global admin credentials for this particular tenant. Now, before you provision, you have to accept the Microsoft customer agreement. Now, let's try to provision and see what happens. So if I go to available service again, and I'm going to try to provision a trial. And in this case, I'm doing a business standard trial. And the good thing about doing CSP with us, you see all these trial services, 30 days, 25 users, you can use them, you can spin them up at any time to do your demos and POCs with your various customers. If it is that you need to do that to close the sale, sometimes a customer may ask you to show how the solution works before you go any further. So this is the message I expect to get. It says the MCA has not been accepted, so it won't allow me to do the provisioning. So let's go back to my tenant service. And if you look at the bottom middle of the screen where it says with a big V, accept MCA, I'll then hit the checkbox. Of course, if you can share this link with your customers so they can read the agreement for themselves and understand their obligations to Microsoft. Of course, the date format here today is the 18.02.2021. And once I've accepted this MCA, it's going to go through a little provisioning process again. And then once that is done, I can absolutely provision services. So once it's done and I check the service, it says MCA signing status completed. Once this is there, I know I can start provisioning. So I select the service with a plus sign. Now let me do it the other way that you can provision a service. So customer overview.
Hi, Ayrton.
Yes.
Someone has a question for you.
Sure. Pause in. Go ahead.
Patrick is asking why the user guide for billing is not available in English.
Okay, I will absolutely review that and see what's the issue there. But there's another area where I'm going to point you to, where you can take a look at the user guides. There's some additional user information. So on the home page, you would have seen two links to PDFs. One is a admin guide and a billing admin guide. There in the support portal, we have some additional information in there. So I'll point to that in a sec. I'll just complete this process and pause on the provisioning aspect of things and take you straight to that support portal. Hopefully that will land you where you need to be. Okay. So now that we are ready to provision, I can go to new service, which allows me to order. The same thing as going plus new order service, same thing. And I'm selecting for this customer. And I now indicate I want the Microsoft. So this is not pretty, but this is what it does when you type. It filters standard, and I want a trial. So I've selected that. I now check in to see if I've done everything correct. Okay, so this is the error that some persons are getting. I'm glad that this error actually came up. So here's the workaround for this error until your MPA has been signed. So you go to the Microsoft Organization Tenant Service where you see the Microsoft Partner ID. You edit that. You remove the partner ID until you've sorted it out, because your partner ID is critical for any transactions that you're doing. Because if the partner ID is not associated with a tenant, this does not register as a transaction that you've done as an indirect reseller with Microsoft. So if there are any rebates or any, depending on the level of partnership that you have signed up for with Microsoft, whether it's silver or any other level, you want the business to register with your partner ID. So you absolutely have to ensure that you resolve any issues with the partner agreement or with your specific partner ID. But this is the workaround for now. So once that is done, you clear that, save. Of course, it's going to go through this whole process again. Go up to the partner level, wait until it's completed again. All right, so this is going to take a little longer. Let's jump to the secure support portal for now. So when you go to the support portal, it opens up another link. Once you hit, you go here. It's like two branches. One has to do with marketing and one has to do with support information related to the platform itself. So on the right is the marketing bit. On the left is stuff relating to the platform itself. So let's go to the platform bit. And if you look to your left here, you will see a lot of information. Sorry. You'll see information relating to billing guide and enough information here that will assist you in understanding billing, provisioning services, the marketplace and how to manage the marketplace. It's very detailed and very comprehensive. So this would be the better place to go to understand how everything is working in terms of your company administrator, your admin users, and your billing admin. Your billing admin is essentially a special user profile that has been created to allow your accounting team or finance team to view the billing information for all your customers and yourself, the reseller, because of course, what you pay to IncomeX is the cost that is presented in the system to you. And of course, your customers will pay the Microsoft suggested retail price, which you can also see from the system. And I'll touch on that when I hit the marketplace. So this area has a lot of information and guides to show you how to use this platform. It's very, very detailed, and I'm absolutely sure this will cover many of your questions. Right? So that is the support, IncomeX Support Center. Now on the other side, when I open this up, this now has marketing related information, campaigns, giving you more information about our reseller program, giving you an idea of the portfolio of the vendors that are they are hosted in our platform currently. This is an also speak to you about the possibility of trainings and what solutions you can put there. The other thing about it, if it is that you are a reseller that have you have your own IP in terms of you developed your own applications pretty mature, and you wish to have that be incorporated in the solutions that are available to other resellers, you can absolutely have that discussion with us, and you will enter our what is called our ISV program. And when you enter that ISV program, what end up happening is that your solution will actually, once it has been onboarded, will showcase much the same way you see these solutions here. Notice these companies are not like Microsoft or Cisco or any large entities like that. But these are companies that have a solution that they figure other resellers could sell in their respective markets. And as such, those solutions will be onboarded and information will be shared here in terms of how you can do the communication about that solution. And of course, these solutions can be provisioned within our platform as well. So that's other exciting stuff. So feel free to check out the support, the two support portals. Quite a bit of information is in there. So let's go back to this and see where we're at. Beautiful. So everything is done here.
All right, Ayrton, another question for you. Just a sec.
Sure.
Who should sign the MCA? Name of contact person, or reseller, or end user?
Essentially, the MCA is for the end customer. It is specifically written for the end customer. Of course, for all purposes, the reseller our partner can ask for the permission from that end customer to go ahead and sign on their behalf, right? But what should really happen, you need to let them see this agreement for them to understand their obligations. Why? It helps to cover any action that you or Microsoft will take against this particular customer, especially someone who decides not to pay for the service, but still wishes for the service to continue. Now, there are specific rules that are clearly stated in that customer agreement that you can either do a snippet and share or share the entire agreement with a customer. But there's clear, explicit rules that are in there. And if the customer is in agreement with it, then you can go ahead and sign on their behalf. Okay, so it has been signed, so we can provision. So let us provision. So I'm going to do the new service method. And I'm going to search for what I want. Microsoft 365 Business Standard. And I want a trial. Okay, I'm seeing the other question now. If we sign on their behalf, do we have to sign a hard copy? I'd recommend you read that MCA. You know, it also speaks to the partner's obligation in that whole process. So please download it and read it. It would be good for you to understand what's happening as well. But if you wish, you can use that. You can do a hard copy approach to it as well. But the thing is, you're not trying to complicate your sale, nor delay the sale, nor complicate your business, but you absolutely have to make your customers aware of their obligations, not only the cost, but how to maintain their service. Well, how does a reseller prove that the end customer has read it? Well, that's the responsibility as you as a partner to make sure that you share that with the end customer. No one can say if somebody read it unless you have read it to them, you know, so and they were in your presence and they clearly understand what has been shared with them. But even if you send an email with a read receipt, or you send it via some document signing tool to say that once you've read it, please sign da 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 da. You know, it still doesn't prove that they have read it. But what is good for you to do is you can absolutely download it, highlight some of the key stuff in terms of termination of service, obligation for payment, what are the costs if there's an overdue amount, things of that nature. No one has been pressured that way just yet, but you have what the end customer has to understand, even though it's an indirect model, meaning we IncomeX as a provider, the Microsoft partner, which is you as the indirect reseller, the obligation, it doesn't rest with us. It rests with the end customer. And if it is that they don't do what they're supposed to do, they're going to lose their service. So to clear the air before it gets cloudy, please share it with them. If they need to sign it, let them sign it. Make sure it's certain key areas are highlighted so they understand what is required of them. All right, so once you know you've signed this cloud agreement as it relates to the services and you understand the terms on that. Oh, shoot. Operation timed out. Let me do it the other way. So because this is a trial service, there's no charge to it. But what would happen if you use a service with a charge? Let's look at what happens there. So if you use a service that has a charge and you selected that service, once you land on this page, it will allow you to set the number of license. And as you set the number of license, you notice that cost, your cost changes and also the sell price, right? Once the cost change, this cost is what we charge you. This is what you charge your customer. So once you change the number of license and also you change the billing type. So that's just a monthly cost. If I change this to annual, of course, it still shows me a monthly cost, but when it computes, it will be an annual cost. And I'll show you what I mean. So let me put it as monthly here, and let's just keep it at 10. And I go to the next page. It gives me a summary. If I expand the table, I see my costs as a reseller, and I see the sell price to the customer. Now, if I go back and I change my bill type to annual, which is 12 months instead of monthly, notice the cost is different. So this landing page, this summary page, gives you an idea what your obligation is once you have provisioned this service, and also the obligation that the customer has for this particular service. So I won't go to the point of actually provisioning a service just now. I'm going to go straight to the marketplace because this is where this is heart of the whole system. So when you go to the marketplace, it gives you a picture of all the services that you can provision. Shows you the ones that are, most of the ones that are zero or trial services are not for resale, which you can provision for demo purposes or just to showcase what the service looks like. And if it is that you need more details about a particular service, you can hover over the service, and where it says view service, you click on that. And you will see details about the service itself. And then when you click on the pricing tab, you go, this is where you see the pricing table for that particular service. So this purchase price will be the cost to you from IncomeX. The my charge is the cost to your end customer. What is reflected out of the box in terms of my charge is your Microsoft suggested resale price, MSRP, right? Now, your question might be, can I change that pricing? Can I make it less or more? Absolutely. How do I go about doing that? Now, if I look to the bottom of the screen, I see where it says edit marketplace. When it says edit marketplace, you can now do a number of things. As you see here, add services. You have to have the specific rights, of course, to be able to do that. Review any terms and conditions. So if you look to the side here, you see something here in terms of This service is price protected. You'll soon see how that comes in to play, or it has price protection, meaning you can set up price protection for that service. And you remember when we were doing the provision and you got to that Microsoft Cloud agreement, that terms, right? So that cloud agreement is specific to the subscription, the product, or the solution, right? So to look at all the different terms and agreement and make sure that you have agreed to it. So rather than having to click and agree each time, you go review terms and agreements. So you see all the different solutions, see all their different terms, and you decide, okay, I've read it, accept, read, accept. So when you go to provisioning, you don't have to necessarily do that accept at that point. You see all the different stuff in terms of the different agreements that are there. All right. So that's the terms and agreement. Now, back to what I was saying in terms of being able to edit that price. So if I click on the three dots to the right, once I'm in edit mode for the marketplace, click on the three dots to the right and go to edit price, I'm now able to edit this my charge. And let me exit this a second. If I selected a subscription that says this service has price protection, I can take a look at, you know, how long that price protection is, or if it is, I want to change the defined protection to say less or more than what it is currently, right? If it is that I want to change the margins or markup, I can do that by just simply selecting a tag there, or if I want to just put in a raw figure for myself. So if I've decided that for a specific period, I'm just going to change my pricing to be less than MSRP, I can go here. So the billing for that period will obviously change because I have adjusted the charges for a certain time, and it would reflect on any billing that I do to my end customers. So that's how you edit. Now, as soon as, and I'm going to do something here, I'm going to remove one of these services. Now we are always adding services. Microsoft is always changing the services. So to be able to maintain those services, you can simply go to add services. You can do it there, or you can do it here, add services. And when you go to add services, you can decide that, okay, I want to add this specific service right here. Once I hit that check and I exit this screen, the service comes back here. Now you might ask the question, how will I know when a new service has been added to the marketplace? So good question, although you haven't asked it. If you go to notifications, you'll see a tab for a user. And there's several notifications here. Now, the very first one is one that everybody has asked about for a long time. You want to know when a subscription is coming up for renewal. You can set the notification date, as long a window as you need it to set, and it will let you know when that prepaid subscription is up for expiration. And it will send a notification to this user's email address. So if you go to the user info here, the email address that is here, it will send a notification there to say when it hits this 90-day, anything that's hitting that 90-day window, we have some renewals that are coming up for, we have some stuff coming up for renewals. At that point, you can start engaging your customers. So while our team will send you notices, it is necessary for you, the partner, to set these notifications, check the systems to make sure you know when the services are coming up for renewal. Because here it is. Don't just say, oh, it's just renewal business. No, don't look at it like that. It's an opportunity for you to have a discussion with your customer, see how it is that they're actually using a subscription, and see what else they would require. And also verify whether or not they're using it properly. Maybe you need to assess how they're using it, help them to use it a little more efficiently. One thing you don't want to have happen, you've done the sale, and persons think you just take the money, you don't help them with anything, you don't do nothing for them. They're using this thing, they don't even know if they're using it properly. They're not sure if they're trained properly. Their headspace is all over the place. And in some cases, the end customer will say, no, man, we know how to use it. Don't worry about us. We're good. Still take the time to offer some training, offer some assistance, and let them know that they'll be receiving a notification at a specific date for renewal of the service, whatever they need to do internally, and give you some heads up on how long a lead time they require to process any payment to you for that renewal of the service. So we can clear that discussion out very, very quickly. Right? So that's notification. But the aspect of new services available, this particular notification is what will let you know any new services that have been added to the global marketplace that you can pull on. So once a new service has been provisioned to that global marketplace, if you've turned this on for your company administrator or any other administrator within the system, you can absolutely you'll get an email to say that that is happening. And of course, just look at all the other notifications. They're pretty self-explanatory. And if you have multiple persons provisioning customers in your system, as a company administrator, you turn on most of these, so if anybody has created any new customer accounts, added any new subscriptions, modified any of the subscriptions, terminated anything. So you actually see what is happening to the subscriptions and the business within the system. Okay. So going back to the marketplace. As I said before, the marketplace is not only Microsoft. If you go to vendors, you'll see tons more vendors here. And if there's any other, and this is actually the latest vendor that has been added. This is actually what we call a local ISV. So it's actually a reseller like any one of you on this call that had a particular solution. I felt it was mature enough to push through our distribution. And we said, okay, let's see it. We had a discussion. We are especially looking for those vendors that they're working with the Microsoft Cloud in more than one ways. So you either working with Modern Workplace, or you're working with Azure, or you're just working with Azure. So this particular vendor have their solution in Azure, and they've built out a solution that other resellers are interested in. And if I just filter on that specific vendor, I see their solutions here. It's represented nicely. If you view their service, you see the pricing for the service. Oh, sorry about that. You see the pricing for the service, the marketing material that they have provided, any information regarding downloads, terms and conditions, the description of their service, all that stuff is there. Any fees that are chargeable. So they have set their own pricing table and presented it here. And of course, you do the same for your solution as well. It's very interesting. So we've looked at support, we've looked at marketplace. There's a sales tool and reporting. So let me go to reporting. So as a reseller, you're transacting some business within this IncomeX Cloud platform, basically provisioning the services. I mentioned that the service is going to be built. Now, the key for you is to understand the billing that you get from IncomeX. What you get from IncomeX is an invoice that states, gives you a total of the cost of your business for the month. Of course, your next question is, I need a breakdown for which customer did what and so forth. Now, there's a report that does that explicitly. It's called the invoice aggregation report. It's a monthly report, and you can choose, when you run it, it runs for the current month, or you can choose the month that you want it to run for. Select the first of that month, then you hit execute. Once you've executed, it will generate a report, which you can export to Excel. In that Excel report, it clearly states who are the customers that you transacted with for the month, what services or products that you sold them, whether it is perpetual subscription software, whether it's an Azure subscription that you did with them, or Modern Workplace, Dynamics, Power Platform, whatever it is that you have done in CSP, or any of the other vendors. So that report is in the system, and you generate it, and you can then charge your customer based on what you did. So you don't actually have to sit and wait on an invoice from IncomeX, but the invoice for, say, you've done business this February, your invoice will be prepared and ready for you by the 5th or 6th day of March, the following month. When you receive that, you, of course, based on your terms that you have with IncomeX, you're asked to make payment for the business that you have done. Now, keep in mind, as some persons say, yes, I provisioned it at the start of February, and I got an invoice in March. But how do you expect me to pay for that until by end of March? I need to have it all the way up to April. But if you think about it, if you've done it from the start of February, you literally can run this report to say, what did you do? How much business did you do with customer X? Doesn't matter if you do any other business for February, it will show up as you do it. So for customer X, once you've provisioned for their service, you really need to invoice them, especially for prepaid subscription. For Azure, it's going to be difficult because you have to have consumption first. And once there's consumption, then it is that you can bill based on consumption, because Azure works pretty much like any usage utility, where once you use it, it generates a cost, water, light, that sort of concept, and then you pay based on what it is that you used. Now, that being said, please use this report as often as you need to use it. Running it 1,000,000 times for the month, there's no charge to run it. At least it gives you a fair idea of what you've done with a specific customer throughout the month, and you can invoice them accordingly. Okay. Even prior to getting the invoice from IncomeX, that way you stay ahead of you receiving that invoice from IncomeX, and you can be able to maintain good credit and always be in good standing with your provider. There are tons of other reports in there. So, for example, this last report in terms of reseller products. So, if it is that you want to look at all the business that you have done right across the bat, you can run this particular reseller products report, and what it will show you at the reseller level is If I run it at a distill level, I see something else. But at a reseller level, what happens is you will see all the products that you've done, all the changes that have been done for the products over time, what solutions you have run. So for example, you've decided that I need to do an upsell campaign for every customer that I've sold Microsoft 365 Business Standard to. So I run that report. And when I run that report, I can then filter on the product, Microsoft 365 Business Standard. And once I've filtered on that product, I'll see all the end customers that I did business with. And I can then say, okay, of the 30 customers that I know do business with, these 10 did business standard with me. I want to upsell security with them. So I have my campaign and my strategy ready. And I pull that list, because I can just extract, run that report, run a pivot table on it, and then filter out on the product and say, okay, business standard, these 10, and I start doing my email campaign to them to say, look, we think you need to consider your upselling advanced threat protection, because now that you've made this digital transformation and you are satisfied that you've made the correct choice, you have to consider, and this is nothing new. This is not happening today, but you have to consider the cyber threats that exist. And as such, you need to protect your users and protect your business and protect your assets. And you present your case to your customers and you present your campaign as you need to present it. Or even if it is that you need to sell them a thank you for doing business with you, or even get an idea which one of the products has given you the most revenue, things like that. And of course, feel free to run through all the reports to see what it is that you get. Majority of these reports are really around modern workplace or productivity in terms of seat count. The Azure reports are handled a little different. So in the case of Azure, and I don't have an active one just now, but there's an Azure subscription here, but no services are added. You have the reports here in terms of what is called the insight reports. These are Power BI reports actually, and if I run them, it should give me, if I had services activated, give me an idea of what I've consumed, what services I've used in my Azure subscription, and once I've started making I've activated services and there has been some consumption, 3 additional reports will pop up in this usage link. These are called reconciliation reports, which gives you an idea month over month what services that you have been using, how you've been using those services, what aspect of the services generated the most revenue for you, and of course what aspects of the services are costing your end customer. And if it is that the end customer has hit a threshold, so you have provided an estimate, you expect them to use $500 per month for their Azure infrastructure, and you set a threshold, say like at $450, and they're hitting that threshold, it's time to have a discussion with them. Has something changed? Do I need to scale up your environment, or we need to look at running your services a little more efficient, and maybe you're not using it as you ought to, or you've made some modifications that is now impacting your environment. Let's talk. And that's a proactive service that you can offer to your client base to manage their cloud infrastructure. So, just look at the creative ways of building out your services to your client base. And the reports and just being able to look at the data analytics, you can then say to yourself, I can do this, I've done that, where I can place my campaign, where I can have my push, what I can do. So there's a lot of information that's being captured here. And then, as I said about billing, on each tab for every customer, there's this concept of billing. And what it does month over month, first month, so we're in February, this is the billing for February month. So, which is the first of the second to the first of the third. And that's how the intervals are done. to track billing, and we give you an idea what's the charge that what amount you can charge to your customer. And of course, at your reseller level, there's also a billing tab which shows your costs for all the services that you're provisioned for all the customers for that same period, right? Now, this shows you in terms of products and services. But when you run that invoice aggregation report, that is what will give you what you need in terms of the type of details you need. Okay. Sales tool. This is an easy way for you to estimate, but it will cost month over month to offer a particular service or subscription. So customers ask me for pricing for business premium, business standard. I just find it, drag it into this space, and then I said, okay, business standard license, I'm looking at about 25, and I'm also looking at about 20 business premium. So monthly charge is 400 for the business premium, and monthly charge for the business standard is that amount. So you can use this to sort of estimate what the charges are. Now this calculator only does it in terms of month, right? And of course, once you export it, you can then compute it for an annual costing if you wish. Again, going to the support portal will tell you how to use this sales tool, or show your salespeople how you can use it. All right, so I'll pause here. And any more questions? Okay, so everybody's learning a lot of stuff here. Interesting. No? Nobody's not learning anything? Okay. Let me see if I can wow you a little bit then.
Well, Trevor says that it's very informative.
Okay, good. Thanks, Trevor.
We have a lot of typers.
No, they're following the protocol, keeping the mics closed. So notice, guys, I went to this other site, marketplacejm.incomexcloudreports.com. And you might be saying to yourself, but I don't remember seeing that in my login credentials. But wow, look what it can do. So this is an interface that was created by us to allow the business, the decision makers within the organization to get a dashboard interface. This is Power BI at work, to see what's happening with the business. How are we increasing, in terms of seats? What are the costs? What are the new customers that are there? What's happening in terms of my churn? How am I gaining or losing over time? And of course, be able to see that those invoice aggregation reports, be able to look at some customer reporting. Right? Of course, you're not going to see much from my interface because I have a lot of trial stuff. But hello? Somebody saying something?
Well, Monique says that this is wonderful.
Perfect. Thank you, Monique. So yes, I had a little cost here. I think I remember what that was. Me playing around with something, I almost got myself in trouble. Playing around with some reserve instances. But I'll have to double check that to see if I still have that footprint. So if you were to run this for you as the administrator, run this for your current client base, you're going to see some interesting details here.
All right, your turn. So you have another question. Trevor wants to know how to create the dashboard.
It's actually already created for you. So what you have to keep in mind is just to use the same credentials that you have for your marketplace. As the admin, as a company admin, you have access to that portal. So say, I think Trevor, you are in RD, so it will be marketplace xrd dot incomex cloud reports.com, and you just replace that xrd. You just use the same link that everyone here, depending on where you're at or where your account is set up, you use the respective link. You're simply just adding reports to the address, the URL, sorry. And then once you hit that, as the company admin, you have rights. If another person needs to have access, you need to make a request to our support team, who will then reach out to operations to activate that user's ability to be able to see the dashboard and see the company's information. Now, take into consideration, this dashboard is showing information based on paid SKUs, not necessarily trial information. So that's why you're not seeing anything here, even though I've had a lot of trial stuff. But once I have paid stuff happening, like in the case of that billing report that you saw just under $70, that was a paid SKU that was activated, and because it was activated, you're seeing a footprint there. But outside of that, you're not seeing much.
All right, your turn. So Patrick wants to know if the dashboards can be made by request to Incomex.
If the dashboards can be made by request, I'm not sure if I understand that question. Open your mic for me, please, Patrick. Thanks a lot.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes. Now, I was looking at your dashboard and it's very interesting.
Sorry, I'm not really hearing you so well, Patrick. Sorry about that.
Do you hear me now clearly?
Yeah, yes, hearing you clearly now.
Yeah, I was just looking at your dashboard you are showing us at the moment, and I'm really interested in such a dashboard. How can I achieve to get such a dashboard?
Okay, so as I had indicated a while ago, so once you have an Incomex cloud platform, and I'm assuming, Patrick, you are the company administrator for your organization, for your,
yes,
right, you simply, whatever your URL is now to get to that Incomex cloud platform, whatever it is, if it's marketplace XRD or XUS, you simply use that same thing. When you would have gone to the point where it says incomexcloud.com, just stick reports in there, and then once you hit enter, you log in with the same credentials that you have for the Incomex cloud platform, and you should come into this space where you will see this dashboard that is already built for you. So most locations is actually ready for you to access. And if it is that you have any issue, simply send a request to the support team. And of course, you can copy, and I put in the chat, the local team, as well as Martha. Most persons here would actually work very closely with Martha. So, and you send a support ticket to support LATAM, letting them know that you are trying to get to the business reports for Incomex cloud platform, and you're having some issues. But as you can see, if you run this for your current platform in the current business, you should see some interesting stuff. And you actually, so you will see for yourself without, and no one from IncomX saying to you, look, you haven't really done any business this month. And if you have set some targets, actual targets for yourself, if you've set some targets for yourself, you can see right off the bat if you're meeting those targets. Are you actually increasing your seats by 10 or 50 as you had predicted each month? And why not? What is happening? What are the campaigns? You know, how are you going to then get your customer base? Do you have a large enough customer base to start doing some upsell? What are the upsell strategies that you need to look at? Obviously, you can have these discussions with us and we can walk you through some of the possible stuff. There are campaigns already in train. And of course, we can look at any other campaigns that you're considering. You can absolutely have a discussion with our communication and marketing and licensing desk around any of those campaigns, or speak to pre-sales or the commercial lead. His name is Kara McCann, and just reach out to all of us and we will try our best to assist you. And that concludes my presentation for today. I hope I assisted. So Patrick, I'm going to ask you to remove that from the chat because this is a wide chat. And if you're having an issue, feel free to send that communication that you just put in the chat to software.jm@incomexcloud.com. Copy myself and Martha on it. Very much. And as well, Samantha. You know how to delete that from the chat? Okay, no problem. Don't worry about it. So I have the emails in the chat for you, Patrick.
So once you send an email to software.jm@incomex.com, it does come to all of us.
Okay, so thank you everyone. That was my presentation for today. I hope I opened some eyes, shared some new stuff, or if I didn't, you know, let me know what your issues are. Communicate with us as best as you can for us to understand the issues that you're having with our platform. If you have any, please clear that up as quickly as possible. We don't want you to have those issues when you're trying to do business. We want you to know how to do it, what to do if you run into issues, and how to get your business done as quickly as possible. Thanks again for your time. I appreciate your time. Appreciate all the effort you've made to participate today.
Have a good one, everyone. You can open your